Welcome back, everybody, to That's DPI. I'm Tyler, and this is Zach with me. We took a little bit of a break for Christmas, but we are back, and the hot story from our break is the Chiefs are getting a brand new stadium. We're going to cover that along with a couple ref calls as well. But to start with the stadium, Zach, you're in Kansas City. So are people excited in Kansas City, or am I just looking at like myself as a staff member?
So I think that it's a little bit of a mixed bag because I was obviously a Kansas City resident when the prop was voted down for the renovations in Missouri. So I think that people are happy in Kansas because it means a lot of tax revenue coming to Kansas, and people are happy in Missouri because they don't have to pay taxes on a stadium they don't want. So it's kind of like it's a win-win for the residents of Kansas City because it's not like the stadium is moving to California like what happened to St. Louis. The stadium is moving very local, and it's honestly going to be a very fun area next to the Raceway and our MLS stadium. They're not only are they investing $2 billion in the domed stadium, right, Tyler? They're investing $2 more billion in like
Mhm.
a district of entertainment around said stadium. Plus, it's going to be indoors, a lot of concerts. I think people are generally happy about the move.
So, and this is kind of a how did we get here? And then I'll talk about what we know about the new stadium. You were a Jackson County resident that um, the county rejected the proposition to build a Royals stadium downtown and renovate Arrowhead to like a state of the art stadium. Jackson County rejected that, and then they started looking towards Kansas. I don't like talking politics on our show, but can you talk about as a Jackson County resident at the time? Can you tell me about that vote and maybe
Yeah.
like where you swung?
So I will go right ahead and say it. I voted no, which meant I don't want the tax extended, and I don't want
Okay.
the plan to be enacted as the Chiefs and Royals wanted it to. And obviously that prop won. And I'll kind of explain to you my perspective, and then I'll give you the other side. But I know that me and a lot of my friends that lived in the area voted no because it was so disorganized. I think that this prop had about a 50-50 chance of success, right? In terms of support. But
Mhm.
the way that the plan was rolled out, specifically with the Kansas City Royals, in which they either had no plan or their plan was to demolish a bunch of local businesses downtown to build a stadium, that didn't sit right with a lot of actual Jackson County downtown residents because it just felt like they didn't care enough to research areas that would have fit the stadium better. So I know I voted no primarily because of the Royals, but I also don't think that the Chiefs plan was very well fleshed out either. Right? It was going to be a renovation, and a lot of that money was going to go into fixing the failing foundation of Arrowhead. Is that right, Tyler? The Arrowhead Stadium has a lot of problems that would need to be fixed before it got a major
So,
renovation.
and this is where I say once again that this is pointing out that it was laid out poorly because that's not what it would have done. It would have
Really?
done that, but a lot of the Arrowhead renovation would have made it a state of the art stadium. It would have covered the upper deck, which would have made it better for both hot and cold games. It would have provided field level suites on the field. It would have provided a lot more premium space, such as a premium entrance, and it also would have added land bridges from the parking lot to the stadium. It would have fixed the parking lot flow, and it would have turned a demolished Royal Stadium into a little like tidal town area, like what Green Bay has.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Jackson County residents saw the juxtaposition of both the Royals and the Chiefs plan, and we're like, the Royals are building a brand new stadium with the same amount of money the Chiefs are doing to build land bridges and a covering over the stands. That's your plan? And so a lot of Jackson County residents is like, why am I going to spend my tax dollars on something that is kind of lame for when you compare it to a brand new Royal Stadium? And
Sure.
throw it on top of that, that while the brand new Royal Stadium is probably wanted by most Jackson County residents, it was going to be built in the wrong location. It was going to destroy local businesses. So all of that coupled together made this a1 political disaster for the Chiefs and for Missouri. Missouri has now lost two NFL teams in the last 10 years. They lost the St. Louis Rams and they lost the Kansas City Chiefs, largely because of well, the St. Louis one's a little different. That was ownership. but
Mhm.
this one squarely sits with the government of Missouri and the
Interesting.
Chiefs and their partnership.
And then because I was never living in Missouri, so like I'm purely Kansan, living away from Kansas City. I'm super excited for it. I do want to kind of tell our audience to be careful about misinformation because the thing that's going around a lot is the renderings that I think it was the Chiefs who put out said renderings of what it could look like. But I was talking to some sources and they said that they have not even picked an architecture firm yet. That was a marketing thing to just kind of show what it could look like. People have already been like, well, in this rendering, there's going to be no parking. It's like, well, it's not real yet. It's like, oh, well, the seats is going to be like this. It looks bland. It's like, it's just a model. That picture that's going around on Twitter took maybe an hour to create. Architecture firms are now working to submit what it's actually going to look like, and then the Chiefs will pick an architecture firm and pick a design. So what we know about it is Wyandotte County, presumably that means Legends. They haven't said Legends. They've only said 435 and 70 in Wyandotte County, which is Legends. But where in Legends, we don't know. We don't know if it's going to like share a parking lot with the racetrack or if it's going to be on the completely separate side of Legends, away from it. We don't know that part, but we do know probably somewhere around Legends.
At least
Or
close, right? Yeah.
at least close to Legends, yes. We do not yet know the number. We can assume 65 to 68. There was an interview from Clark Hunt when they first put it out that they want nothing less than 70. We've got other sources saying it's going to be closer to 60. We've got some sources saying 65 to 68. So we really don't know. We don't know the stadium, or we don't know the number.
Capacity, yeah.
The capacity, yeah. It is going to be presumably in the high 60s, though. That would be my guess. The other thing that we know for a fact as well is even though that's 5 years away, if they build a new stadium, which my sources say if they build a new stadium and complete it within that time, which my sources say that won't happen, but my sources also say that if the stadium is complete before the 2031 season, that will not matter. The Chiefs will play at Arrowhead through 2030, even if the stadium's done tomorrow, right? They will play at Arrowhead for 5 years. And so that's what we know. And then there's a lot about what I want to see in it. I want to see a retractable roof. I want to see natural grass, kind of like what the Raiders and the Cardinals have, where they can slide it out. I want to see a high capacity. That's going to be good for the ticket prices. And I want to see better concessions. Concessions at Arrowhead are terrible. I want to see local businesses. I want to see Arthur Bryant's in Arrowhead. There's no good concessions in Arrowhead. So I want to see a fix on that. And then as a staff perspective, sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but as a staff perspective, I want to see 4 tunnels. I want to see I want to see a tunnel in every corner in that stadium. 1 for the Chiefs, 1 for the opponents, and then 2 for like equipment and production. I think that would be perfect. Cowboys have 4, have 1 in each corner as well. Works out great. That's what I want to see. I want to see a tunnel in each corner.
Yeah, and you've visited a lot of stadiums and not only observed it yourself, but spoken to staff members of those stadiums and kind of gotten an idea of, what works, what doesn't work. So the Chiefs have a real opportunity here to significantly improve their facilities because Arrowhead is obviously an iconic venue. You could argue top 5. I would argue top 5 for sure. Most iconic venues currently in the sport. And so you not only do you have an opportunity, but you have an expectation to meet and exceed top 5 venue. And so I think a lot of the things that you hit on as well, do you think that the Chiefs are going to include any noise technology like at Lumen Field in Seattle to maintain their raucous and loud environment?
They absolutely will. That's something that Mark Donovan has touched on as well. The 2 things that Mark Donovan, the president of the Chiefs, the 2 things that he's specifically said since the announcement is he wants a good tailgating scene because they've both said we want the best experience for fans. That's vague. That's vague. Don't listen to any of that. But he has specifically mentioned he wants a good tailgating scene, lots of parking, and he has also specifically said he wants it loud. And he even said that there are ways to create noise. So for example, Lumen Field in Seattle, they've got like a half covered thing to keep the noise trapped in. And not SoFi, Levi Stadium of the 49ers, they have the glass that's on that big wall of press and suites is designed to where it bounces noise back rather than absorbing it like any regular glass would. So Arrowhead is going to pull out all of this. The Chiefs are going to pull out all of the stops to make sure that that is still a loud and ruckus stadium.
Yeah, I think that's. I honestly didn't know any of that. I was asking that just out of curiosity, so that ended up being a layup for you. But
Yeah,
I'm really
it's loud.
excited because I mean we've been to so many stadiums already. You've been to more than me than I can even count. Cleveland is one of them. You know, they're getting a new stadium here soon, right? So any idea of what maybe to expect with them, or maybe what they need to most improve with their new stadium since visiting?
Yeah, so Cleveland Stadium is interesting. Similar to this area, they're very 50-50 on if they want a new one. Some are like, yeah, let's get a brand new one. Others are indifferent because of the location and or taking away from the riverfront where Cleveland's is. The Brown Stadium is bland in the sense of it's got its seats, it's got its club level, but there's nothing spectacular about the stadium anywhere. The club level is not a whole level, it's just like a more of a club area. The only thing to do around the stadium is bars and tailgating. So there's no like family-friendly atmosphere where you can take some photo ops or listen to some music or even watch any of the other games. It's just kind of eating and drinking. So there's probably going to be a more variety of that. It's very walkable, but there's not really public transportation. The parking, we walked. My friend and I, we stayed in downtown Cleveland, which if anyone's going to go to a Browns game in the next couple of years, that's what you want to do. Get your hotel in downtown Cleveland and walk to the stadium because that parking looked like a nightmare. So there might be some better parking situation out with the new stadium.
Gotcha. Sounds like the problems of most stadiums that are adjacent to downtown. I know that everything you just said applies to Cincinnati, a stadium that I went to earlier, although they're not really planning on building a new stadium. They're keeping Paycor for a little while. But yeah, I think that both stadiums will be excellent. I'm really excited as a Kansas City resident to see what they do with that stadium. I know that the Royals are also moving to Kansas potentially. So we're getting two new sports teams and stadiums coming to my state. Our state, you're also a Kansan, just not a Kansas City in. So we'll see how that goes. But enough stadium talk for now. As more details come out, we will be sure to break them to you guys, as we have throughout the saga of the Chiefs Stadium. I mean, we were some of the first to talk about the fact that they could even possibly move to Kansas. And now we're covering it as it becomes a reality. But we do have our regularly scheduled ref calls of the week, but it really is ref calls of last week because I don't know about you, Tyler. I didn't see too many controversial calls this week. So I want to take a second to commend the refs here because, yeah, you're going to miss some here or there, but none of the games that I watched were ended by backbreaking ref calls this week. So good Christmas gift from the refs, I think.
I agree. I was of course at a game, so I didn't get to watch any of them. But yeah, I didn't see anything crazy on Twitter. You weren't live texting me anything about games. Good week for the refs.
Good week for the refs. So we have to dip into last week to find something to criticize. And boy, does this one hit home here. We're going to go to Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan, where the Lions lost on back-to-back offensive pass interference penalties, both of which were Lions touchdowns that would have given them a lead going in to the end of the game with less than 30 seconds at least on both of these. So here is the first one. And I think the more controversial one, there is a second one after this. So the OPI, I'll just play the video and we will discuss afterwards.
Okay, so
Isaac
I'm looking at
Tesla,
St. Brown there. Oh, there. Oh, I see it.
you're going to see what appears to be a pick set by Isaac Tesla, which allowed Amon-Ra St. Brown to get wide open. My only issue with this call is that it looks like he gets shoved into this by number 24. It looks like he's getting rode, and then shoved into the OPI. He also, I have another angle of him trying to continue his route so he doesn't just stop. But what are your thoughts on this initially?
My problem is right here. You see his left shoulder lowered. And so I can see perhaps why that was called. I don't like this call, but this is consistent with what the Chiefs have been called on, with a lot of pass interference calls. This is consistent with other calls, I would say. But I don't like the rule. Like, I guess it's a good call if a bad rule is my first thing here with that lowered shoulder.
Here's my issue with it, though. You mentioned consistency. That's my major issue with it, because whether this is OPI or not, it's kind of left up to the discretion of the referees, because obvious pick plays are illegal, but there's a lot of gray area with picks. And so they have not been officiated consistently. There was a play earlier this year that the Chiefs ran and scored on that was not called for OPI. And then there was a play that the Chiefs ran that was called. Same situation. And this play is one of many pick plays that teams run on the goal line that are this specific play, this pick play on the goal line. The NFL needs to figure out how they want to officiate it, because some crews call it differently than others. And that's one of the biggest problems that I have with the refs right now, because if you get Carl Sheffer's crew, for example, he's going to officiate this in a way that calls OPI. And if you get Craig Rolstead's crew, he's going to officiate it in a different way. The NFL needs consistency on picks. But overall consensus, I don't think that this is OPI, because I've seen teams get away with it. But the Steelers were called for a very similar OPI earlier in the game. So if the refs are going to call it consistency on within the game, I'm actually okay with that. I don't like it, but I'm okay with it if they're calling it on both teams in the same way. Here's another angle of that one. Just, you can see him trying to fight upfield, because it looks like he got pushed into it and he's just trying to fight upfield. I don't know. Not one of the more obvious ones we've seen, but certainly falls within the gray area, right?
Yeah, it does. If it's wrong or if there's a disagreement, it's certainly not egregious by any means to me. But this is the second one now?
This would be the second offensive pass interference called on the Lions. And it is here. Goff steps up, fires St. Brown, caught, short of the marker, laterals it to Goff, who leaps into the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. This was ruled a touchdown after review. So I don't know if I quite have the best angle of the OPI. But, man, I thought I had it here.
You can find one from the backside. That's the one that they showed on the broadcast, and that's the one that you and I were talking about it live.
So just kind of go into what makes an OPI happen like that, and I just want to find this play really quick, because I thought I had the correct view.
So what the refs are going to really look at for offensive pass interference is, does it prohibit the defender from making a play on the ball? So some things that could do that is contact to him, a shove to him, not necessarily playing through a ball, but contact that's not necessary, I would say. So for example, if you're both playing the ball, you're jumping up towards the ball and you hit someone, that's not pass interference because you're making a play on the ball. What I saw, and this is the video that you're looking for. What I saw on the video is
here. I got the video here real quick.
You got the video. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see that.
That's the full video. I'll just keep replaying it, because I could only find a clip on Instagram. So
perfect. That's fine, because that's what I'm looking for. I see pass interference here. So once it replays.
What a wild play, by the way. Just a lateral.
Pass interference, that's a wild play.
So yeah,
So you see him go to Ramsey, make contact with the shove, and then gain separation. To me, this is definitely pass interference.
yeah. And I'm going to agree with you, actually. I don't like it here in the spot because I don't know if it was egregious enough to get the call a lot. Because as you and I have discussed, offensive pass interference is more rare of a penalty than defensive pass interference. DPI is called a lot. It's the name of the dang podcast, folks. But offensive pass interference is quite rare. And so, is this enough? I think what really gets this play is number 5, Jalen Ramsey with a great sell, throwing the
But
hand up
also,
in the air.
but look at Amon-Ra's like movement. He almost kind of like does one of those things to like push himself off.
It is, and it's very
He looks like a swimmer that's pushing off the wall to turn back the other way.
and it's very similar to what Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson do every play. That's my only argument. I think the sell is what gets this call here. I
You know,
don't think that
I
it's
don't disagree with
necessarily
that.
egregious enough to be called every time. The sell was great, and offensive pass interference is correctly called. I do agree with the call. I'm just saying that this typically doesn't get called, and why it was called was because Jalen Ramsey did a great sell job, which is well within his right to do. He is giving
Oh
up
yeah,
the catch by selling this. If they don't call this, he gives up a touchdown, right? So it's a great
yeah.
job selling it. Refs see it. Refs call it. I think this one is more obvious than the one before. It's less gray, if that makes sense.
It does, and kind of going back to what you said about the last one too, about the consistency, is I agree with you that Jamar Chase does this every single play and doesn't get called because it's Jamar Chase. Um, it should absolutely be called, but I do think this is pass interference, and I agree that the refs need to call it more consistently
Right.
on Chase and Jefferson.
It's just frustrating when it happens twice in a row. It was the first time in 30 years that 2 offensive pass interference calls were called in the final 30 seconds of a game. And
Wow.
that's only because that's as far back as the stat is tracked. So very possibly could be the
Wow.
only time a team has lost to 2 OPI penalties that took away touchdowns. So that's why to me, it's really frustrating. Like, can you pick and choose? Yeah, these are both gray. The fact that they were both called is probably the more frustrating aspect because one of them probably in a normal game situation probably doesn't get called. It's just unlucky. It goes back to what I've been saying about the Detroit Lions all season and this is going to kind of be a mini retrospective for me about this team, is that they have been catastrophically unlucky with whether it's injuries, whether it's penalties, whether it's drops or fumbles. It is just every single bounce. It felt like that could have gone their way, didn't. And the Lions are still able to get a winning record this season. And so, for all the people who are out there panicking, I don't think that we should be doing that. We're not in the playoffs, and I'm still trying to talk reason into this fan base, which has completely spiraled out of control. And I get it. Watching this stuff, I need to take 24 hours before I have any thoughts about the future. I have to literally sit there and think about it, because if I make any snap judgments to Tyler, he will call me a wishy-washy, psychotic person who has no idea what he's talking about. I have to genuinely reflect and understand what happened and why it happened. And so the things that are most important, maybe some New Year's resolutions. This is New Year's Eve for the Detroit Lions, are improve the offensive line.
New Year's Day
Interior,
if you're watching it.
that's right. Um, so improve the offensive line. It was really bad this year, specifically the interior, center and left guard specifically. I think Tate Ratledge, the rookie, will develop. Fire John Morton. Dan Campbell is a wonderful, fantastic, amazing offensive mind and coach. He cannot be head coach and offensive coordinator at the same time. He doesn't understand game scripts as well. I think that he has the cerebral knowledge of the offense to be really smart. We've seen him call great games, i.e. Washington. And honestly, the Rams game, 34 points against that defense is always impressive. But it's clear that he is overstretched. So fire John Morton. He was bad. I don't think that you can run it back. I don't think the window is closed, but it's certainly doesn't have time for John Morton to figure his ass out. And I think that you should demote the run game coordinator and the pass game coordinator, both of which were internal promotions. Hank Fraley was promoted from just offensive line coach to offensive line coach and run game coordinator. No, don't do that. There was another coach that was promoted, I believe it's Scotty Montgomery, from receivers coach to receivers coach and pass game coordinator. No, demote them back to where they belong, their positions, and then get somebody else to do that. Need more eyes on this offense. And one of those eyes can't be John Morton. So we need 3 new eyes on this offense. Give those guys back their responsibilities. Don't give them any more. The reason the Lions did that, by the way, is to prevent them from being hired away. Hank Fraley was an offensive coordinator candidate, so I get it. But now they should be safe, I hope, after what was an abysmal performance. Demote them quietly, internally, hire a new OC. So coaching, offensive line, and just get healthy. That's the last one. Just get a little luck on your side. Lions are still Super Bowl contenders. They, like we've discussed in our GM discussions, great job extending players early. They are the anti-Dallas Cowboys who just released Trayvon Diggs for no reason. They sign their players early and they keep their window open. So just do those 3 things. And if you lose to the Chicago Bears, you get a 4th place schedule. That's the difference between playing the Rams and the Cardinals. I would say lose that game. I don't want to play the Cardinals. I don't want to play the Rams. I'd rather play the Cardinals. Or the difference between playing the Colts and the Titans. Hello, give me the Cardinals and the Titans. Right. I don't think they'll be that much better next year. So honestly, a lot of players are resting. Amon-Ra St. Brown might rest. Just lose to the Bears. It doesn't matter. This season's over. What matters is next season, getting healthy, getting the right people, and fixing that big hole, which is the offensive line.
If Campbell were to rest those starters like Amon-Ra St. Brown, people that are healthy, really.
Amon-Ra St. Brown's injured. So that's the reason he's getting rested. He has a knee injury.
Fair. But let's say he rested like everyone. Let's say he did like a completely, this game doesn't matter. You know, it would actually benefit us schedule-wise next year to lose. Is that allowed?
It is.
Not taking on purpose. Not taking on purpose or like, hey, Goff throw an interception. Not like that. But like, if they were to say, like, let's say Goff got rested this week, who's not on the injury report.
Right.
And they asked Dan Campbell, hey, why is Goff sitting? And he goes, wouldn't hurt us to have a 4th place schedule instead of a 3rd place schedule. Is that allowed?
Is it allowed? It's gray. Because I think is it allowed and has it been done successfully before with no repercussions? That's 2 different questions. I think it has been done before with no repercussions, but is it allowed? Per the NFL, I don't think so. If I'm Dan Campbell and I come up to the podium and I say, we are resting Jared Goff so that we can get our 4th place schedule, that is not allowed. But if you say, hey, Amon-Ra St. Brown is dealing with a knee injury, we're not going to play him because this game doesn't matter, or which is kind of what he said on the podium. He actually said, hey, we've got a lot of guys who we're still evaluating on whether we're going to keep them or not next year. If they're guys that are hurt and we don't need any more evaluation on them, we're going to rest them. But if there's guys who need evaluation who we're not sure about, we're going to play them. They're using this game as an opportunity to figure out who they want to keep and who they want to get rid of. That's fine and well within their right as a team that's eliminated, right? The Cardinals have been doing that since week 10. So then, little fun scenario here. Let's bench Goff and let's play the backup and then just be like, oh, we're evaluating to see if we want to keep him or not. It's funny. And ironically enough, it was asked to Goff in his post-game media availability. They said, are you going to play? Because this game doesn't matter and we need you. And Jared Goff says, look, I'm the quarterback of this team. This city has asked me to play. I'm going to play.
Yeah.
And so Goff is playing.
That's a good answer by Goff. That's a good answer by Goff.
He is a true professional. So as much as I would be happy for a Lions loss this week, which is something you won't hear me say very often, guys. I'm never really happy when the Lions lose. I would be happy if they dropped this game to Chicago because that 3rd place schedule would make my life a lot less stressful next year.
Or that fourth place schedule.
Sorry, the fourth place schedule, last place schedule. I think very similar. But that's my kind of retrospective on the Lions season. And so we have a fun activity for Tyler, similarly to how Tyler gave me a quiz on the different head referees on different crews. I'm going to quiz Tyler in something called Pro Bowl or No Bowl. We've got some stat comparisons here for you guys on players that made the Pro Bowl and players that did not make the Pro Bowl. And Tyler's not only going to guess which player made the Pro Bowl, he's going to try to guess which players they are. And I will give him points if he does one correct, both correct, and if he gets the Pro Bowler correct as well. So an opportunity for 3 points on each slide.
So for each slide, one of them is a Pro Bowler and one of them is not.
Correct. And I made sure to keep them in the same conference, because if I were to do something like compare Jamison Williams to the AFC receivers, Jamison Williams couldn't made the Pro Bowl in the AFC. So that's not fair.
Gotcha.
So you can know in your mind that both of these players, when I compare them, are in the same conference. I won't tell you which conference they are unless you get stuck. And then I'll tell you either AFC or NFC. Okay. So this is our first comparison. It is quarterbacks, everyone's favorite position to evaluate. We've got player A and player B.
So to me, I'm seeing the completions, the yards, the touchdowns, the interceptions, and the passer rating all being better on player B.
That's right.
Which makes me, given the fact that it's in this segment, makes me want to say that player A is the Pro Bowler.
Interesting. Is that your final answer? Or are you just walking me through your thought process here?
I'm kind of walking through the thought process. I think player B should be the Pro Bowler because of the higher yards, touchdowns, interceptions. But because I think this is a trick question, I'm going to say player A is the Pro Bowler.
Okay. You're going to say player A is the Pro Bowler. I will tell you right now that that is correct. Player A is the Pro Bowler.
So I was right on the trick question.
So you have 1 point.
So now
can you get them?
Who made the Pro Bowl?
If you can get them correct, you can probably guess the Pro Bowler pretty easily.
Can I ask who the Pro Bowl quarterbacks are at least, so I at least know who I'm looking for? Because I have not really looked at that. I saw Kelsey made it, and then I was on my trip in Cleveland. So
the 3 Pro Bowl quarterbacks for the NFC are Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott, and Sam Darnold. Okay. I will give you that much. Since you guessed the Pro Bowler right, you get a little bonus.
Okay, so a little bonus that I know it's NFC. So it's either Dak, Sam, or who is the last one?
Stafford, the MVP.
Stafford. Oh, man. 38. I'm going to say Sam.
You're going to say Sam Darnold is player A.
I'm going to say Sam Darnold's player A.
You are 2 for 2. Player A is Sam Darnold. Now it's the final guess, the opportunity for a perfect sweep of the quarterback quiz. Who is player B?
NFC.
33 touchdowns and 7 picks.
And it's passing touchdowns. Okay, so it's not Jalen. I don't think it's Jalen.
Neither of these players have a rushing touchdown. I put the rush yards at the bottom to demonstrate they're both pocket passers.
NFC pocket passer, 4,200 yards. I'm going to guess Goff.
It is Sam Darnold, Jared Goff. 3 for 3 on the quarterbacks. Audience, maybe Tyler does know ball, okay? Maybe he does know ball.
Because here's where I'm thinking. I'm thinking, okay, who's a quarterback that's actually pretty good but gets no credit? And because you and I have had conversations about how good Goff is that doesn't get credit, I'm like, Goff fits the mold of someone who would throw 4,200 yards and still not make a Pro Bowl. So let's go.
Since I gave you the Pro Bowl quarterbacks, you could have said Dak here, and I think you also could have said Love. So those are really the only guys that fit that mold there in the NFC.
That's fair. I was more confident in it being Goff than I was in Darnold, though.
I just had to throw Jared in there because I feel like he got snubbed a little bit. Come on, 14 interceptions to 7 picks is pretty ridiculous.
And yeah, and this is where Sam Darnold, this is where the wins get the votes.
Right.
Kind of like the MVP race. The losses don't give you the MVP. Burrow was not even a top 3 candidate last year for MVP, but statistically was right up there with Jackson and Allen.
Right.
Because he lost games, wasn't going to be in there.
And for context, I didn't put wins here because number one, I have a fundamental disagreement of quarterbacks are wins are a quarterback stat. Hate that. And it would have given it away immediately. Because if Tyler saw 8 and 8, he goes, Goff! And that's it. So we've got player number 2. Okay. Well, comparison number 2. Comparison number 2. Wide receiver in the you don't know the conference. So I won't give the conference away.
Okay. So I'm trying to think who I think the Pro Bowler is. More targets, but I don't care as much about targets. The same number of receptions is crazy.
It is.
Almost the same number of, 4 compared to 3 for receiving touchdowns.
And I will say player B had a rushing touchdown, so they actually have the same amount of touchdowns as well. But I didn't include rushing stats on here because I figured wide receivers don't rush very much.
Sure. Yards after catch is better. I am going to say, once again, player A is the Pro Bowler.
Player A is the Pro Bowler. That is incorrect.
Incorrect. Player B is the Pro Bowler. That one's close. That one's close, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with B being over A. But I was just thinking, usually the yards per catch, usually voters don't take that too much into account. So 4 touchdown receptions is kind of where I was mainly leaning for. That seems to be something voters care more about. So player B is the Pro Bowler. Okay. So
do you have a guess for either player A or B? Or which conference it is, because you haven't found that one out yet.
Yeah, I have not found the conference. Okay. I think this is I'm trying to think. This doesn't look like a star receiver. I think this is a solid wide receiver one, but not a star athlete. So the NFC star athletes have Puka and Justin Jefferson. The AFC has Jamar Chase. Is this AFC?
This is the AFC. So AFC, you got the conference right. Jamar Chase is a Pro Bowler, by the way, but he does not appear on this list. He was a 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something in superstars, and I said it's not a superstar, so it's not, okay.
Oh, I also realized I didn't give you yards. So let me give you their yards really quick. I don't know why I forgot to include yards. I gave you targets, but not yards.
Oh, yeah. You didn't give me reception. Yeah.
So yards for this player, for player A, are 970. And yards for player B being the Pro Bowler, which is 1,073. So about 100 more yards for player B.
So the wide receivers for the AFC are Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Zay Flowers, and Courtland Sutton. Almost 1,000 yards. I'm going to say Sutton. Is player B Courtland Sutton?
Is player B Courtland Sutton? He is not Courtland Sutton. He is not.
My third guess would be Nico.
He is not Nico Collins.
It's not Nico?
It is Zay Flowers, the final remaining Pro Bowler.
Oh, man. Okay.
It's not Jamar Chase. We know it's not Jamar Chase. So who would that make player A then? Do you have a guess to throw out? I stumped you with this one.
Yeah, you did. I know my quarterbacks much more than I know my receivers, apparently. Player A. Okay. Someone equivalent to Zay Flowers, but didn't make the Pro Bowl. Okay. Diggs? I don't know what Diggs' stats are.
Bingo, it's Diggs. You get 1 point. Salvage the round with a point. It is Stephon Diggs, who did not make the Pro Bowl. Zay Flowers did make the Pro Bowl. Good guessing, Tyler.
All
You're
right.
at 4 points out of a possible 6, I believe. So you're doing quite well. Can you salvage it for the running backs?
All right. Running backs. Ooh.
This one's interesting.
1,100 yards to 1,200 yards. 1,200 yards rushing and 11 touchdowns. I mean, okay. This is once again where I want to maybe think this is a trick, but to me, I would be voting player B. I would be voting player B personally. So I'll do it. I'll go player B as the Pro Bowler.
That's not correct. Player A is the Pro Bowler. You're overlooking the receiving yards. They had almost 100 receptions.
Yeah, it's fair. All right, so a big receiving back. Is this NFC?
This is NFC.
Is it CMC?
This is CMC as player A,
okay.
who is the Pro Bowler. So I want to see now.
That makes sense.
So you didn't guess
really
the Pro
looked at the
Bowler
yards.
right.
I didn't spend too much time looking at the reception. So
Got it. So you missed out on the Pro Bowl point, but you can still. But you guessed player A is Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Can you get the last point here by correctly guessing player B, who is an NFC running back who didn't make the Pro Bowl this year?
Okay. So,
for context, your Pro Bowl running backs in the NFC are Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, and Bijan Robinson, or Bijan, however the hell you want to pronounce that.
So it's not Bijan, it's not CMC, and it's not Gibbs.
That's right.
Okay. But we do have a 1,200-yard rusher that also got 35 receptions. So 35 receptions, 1,200. So I'm thinking, who's a very versatile running back that does well? I mean, 1,200 yards is very good.
Also 11 touchdowns and almost 5 yards a carry. Like the dude was.
Yeah, so like a very good running back. Saquon?
This is unfortunately not Saquon.
Oh man. Okay, give me one more.
I'll give you one final guess to see if you can get 2 or 3 on this position group.
Okay. I don't know the full name. Is it Williams of the Rams?
Is it Kyron Williams? It is not. This is Javonte Williams of the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
Had an amazing season, completely overlooked because he was sitting behind Gibbs, McCaffrey, and Robinson, but one of the better pure rushers in the NFL, period. Not just the NFC.
The NFC had a lot of good running backs.
They did. And it's tough to argue with almost 100 catch season for McCaffrey. I mean, he has the opportunity even to get 1,000 if he can, scram together a 160-yard game.
Right.
But so you get 1 of 2 on this one as well. After getting 3 for 3. So yeah, these ones were harder than quarterbacks. I'll give you that. But little fun, Pro Bowl or no bowl.
Yeah, that was fun.
I really liked that, facilitating that. I just wanted to return the favor. You gave me a ref quiz, and I gave you a stats quiz right back.
There we go.
But we have a little bit more content for you guys today. We wanted to maybe briefly discuss some playoff implications. And those playoff implications are twofold, right? There are 2 teams that are still fighting for a playoff spot in Week 18. One of them is the Baltimore Ravens, who are facing off against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 18. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are without their starting wide receiver, DK Metcalf. Pretty big news.
That was wild. To just punch a fan like that. Also.
Yeah. And so I also have the recording of that too, in case we wanted to show that to our viewers, because I know that there was multiple angles shown on social media, but it wasn't released until later, the full angle of the altercation, because there was a broadcast angle that Tyler and I got to watch live together. And then there was this one shown to social media of DK Metcalf walking up to the fan, grabbing him by the shirt neck, maybe a little violently there, and then pulling him and swinging. Don't think he made much contact there, but certainly one of the more egregious NFL and fan interactions I've ever seen, because regardless of what he said, unless it was truly, truly disparaging and racially insensitive, words are typically not supposed to be met with violence at a sporting event, right? Especially by players towards fans.
Yeah, 100%.
With that caveat, of course.
Yeah, 100%. And did we ever hear, because DK had said it was racially motivated. I haven't heard any evidence that suggested it was. I think I heard somewhere that he had like said his full name or something.
Yeah, that is what the fan was claiming, is that he was yelling. So DK approached because the fan had a jersey with his name on it, and then the fan said his full name, and that's what sparked the altercation. Apparently, DK and this fan, according to DK, have met before in Seattle when the Lions played in Seattle, and he called him racial slurs then. But there's a lot of details there that I don't feel comfortable saying are true or are false. It's just a lot of he said, she said. There's not any evidence that this fan called DK Metcalf a racial slur in Seattle or in Detroit, right? So we have to go with what we have. And what we have is a video that has audio that we can't hear a racial slur being shouted of DK Metcalf grabbing a fan by the neck, swinging on him, and then walking away.
Yeah, that and I agree. I saw that video as well. I didn't hear any racial slur by any means at all. But what we do know for a fact is a 2-game suspension.
That's
and so he was suspended without pay. The Steelers don't have their wide receiver for last week or this upcoming week, which is monumental on its own. I think that's part of why they lost to the Browns, and why I also think they're going to lose to the Ravens. And he also had guaranteed money voided as a result too. So he lost what, like $15 million off this when you factor in voided money guaranteed or guaranteed money voided.
Well, actually, it seems like they had the opportunity to void his contract, and then the Steelers decided to not void his contract. So it was initially reported that the guarantees were going to be voided, and then a few days later, the Steelers decided that they were not going to void it. So his guarantees are not voided anymore. It is just the suspension levied by the NFL, which was, I don't remember if it was appealed, but it was upheld. If it was appealed, obviously
it was appealed, and the NFL was pretty much like, dude, no. But yes, it was appealed and then upheld.
But according to Yahoo Sports, he was able to retain that guaranteed money, which it would have been a very costly mistake. Although he would have gotten that money if he played all the games, right? Like the money just doesn't go away. It just the guarantees go away, right? It just gets transferred into salary. So he still is getting paid his contract if he plays all 17 games both seasons and hits his incentives or whatever. So it just would have been costly if, let's say, he hurts his knee in week 2. Then that's when the guarantees are really important for players like that. But definitely a big factor in that 13-6 loss to Cleveland, in which the Steelers only scored 6 points. I thought it was fascinating because it looked like Aaron Rodgers was also trying to avoid being the guy that got sacked by Myles Garrett to break the sack record. I thought that was 1,000%. I thought that was a huge. You were at the game. Aaron Rodgers didn't hang in the pocket for longer than 2 seconds. Barely ever that entire game. He looked terrified.
You could tell that they did a lot of running. They did a lot of what's it called when like the running back is like a blocker? Chip blocks?
Yeah, well, they kind of motioned him into the backfield. Yeah, they did a lot of chipping, a lot of help blocks.
They did quick passes. No, 100%. The primary goal of the Steelers, or at least from what it looked like from the stands, it looked like the Steelers had the number one goal of not taking 2 sacks. and then number 2 winning. And meaning that that wasn't their priority. And because it wasn't their priority, they didn't pass. Because actually, when they passed very well. They went down to almost score. Well, they went down and scored a game-winning drive. And when they passed, when they were forced to pass in situations, they passed very well. But they're like, nope, we're just going to do run, run, quick pass, punt. Run, run, quick pass, punt. Oh, now we need to score. Pass, 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 touchdown.
Yeah, it was a fascinating game plan because I was watching live from home because I was really interested and hopeful that the Browns would win so that we'd have interesting playoff implications. And so would the NFL, as they've already flexed the game to Sunday night, right?
Mm-hmm.
The NFL clearly was rooting for the Browns. Not like they rigged the game. They like execs were like, I hope the Browns win so that we have more interesting football. Yeah. But it didn't seem like the Steelers wanted to win. Like, if anyone rigged the game, it was the Steelers because they just didn't try. I don't think they realized that they could avoid a meaningful game in Week 18 and potentially miss the playoffs if they just beat Shedeur Sanders, who is not a good quarterback. We have talked about it numerous, and they were really bad. So
he threw 2 picks.
One of them was one of the worst mistakes I've ever seen a rookie quarterback. Just chucked it right to the defense. Horrible call. Like, I played football with my buddies outside today, and we saw better reads from Nathan Big Cat Ogden than we saw from Shedeur Sanders, okay? And they won. I can't believe it. It doesn't make any sense. I can't believe it. So, obviously a costly penalty. We will never know how different the game plan would have been if, Pittsburgh has their number 1 receiver. And Pittsburgh is a team that does not use their receivers very often. Their leading receiver in terms of receptions is a running back, Kenneth Gainwell. So DK Metcalf was one of the only wide receivers who actually has more than 50 catches on the team. Taking him out really changes the dynamics of this offense and could cost them a playoff spot. Brutal mistake. But enough of DK Metcalf's shenanigans. We've got must-watch games for Week 18. I think there's 2 obvious choices, and I'm going to talk a little playoff implications for one of them because I'm guaranteeing one of them is this.
My number one must-watch game is a night game, but it's Saturday night. It is Seahawks and 49ers.
Oh, yeah.
The NFC West is nuts. You touched on earlier the third place team is the Rams, who are going to the playoffs. So the implications here for the NFC West title is very important. You've got 2 powerhouses and possibly an NFC championship matchup between these 2 teams. My second one is Sunday night. It is Ravens at Steelers, and maybe I should have put this one at number 1 because the winner wins the division, and the loser goes to Cancun. They are done for the season. They miss the playoffs if they do not win this game. So winner hosts the playoff game. Loser is done. And I think the Ravens are going to win, so it could also be Aaron Rodgers' final game if the Ravens end up winning.
Very big.
And then I really struggled to find a third game. But the game that I ended up landing on was actually was Chargers and Broncos. The Broncos have already clinched the AFC West for the first time in 10 years. The Chargers, I think, are pretty locked in at the 5 seed, but I do think that this could very easily be a playoff matchup in just a few weeks either. So not much playoff implications there, but I do think that'll be a good game. That'll be something to watch in your early Sunday slate.
Yeah, and one of the games you didn't mention that I wanted to make sure that we did talk about is the NFC South, the much maligned NFC South, because obviously, like you said, there's a Rams team that's going to go on the road, and they're one of the best teams in football, and they have over 11 wins. And they're going to go on the road because they didn't win their division, and because we reserve the 4 seed for the worst division winner, and that is currently being decided by a game versus Carolina and Tampa Bay, but not quite. It's not quite being decided that way. If the Panthers win, they go on and they represent the NFC South in the playoffs. But if the Buccaneers win, it would be an 8-9 tie between these two teams. So how do you break that tie? Conference record. What's their conference record? It's the same. So you have to go to another tiebreaker, and that tiebreaker is determined by the Atlanta Falcons. If the Atlanta Falcons beat the Saints, the Panthers clinch the playoffs no matter if they win or lose. The Atlanta Falcons control the destiny of the Panthers. It is absurd. Because of the way NFL tiebreakers are working, and because of common game tiebreakers and division standing tiebreakers and head-to-head tiebreakers, because Carolina, if Tampa Bay wins, Carolina and Tampa split. And so it goes into a round-robin style tiebreaker in which the Atlanta Falcons would allow Carolina to go to the playoffs if they beat New Orleans. It doesn't matter if Tampa Bay wins or not. I see your face and I see the confusion on it. And I promise for my dear viewers out there that this is the way it is. Not so because the NFL is supposed to make sense.
So who currently has a better record between the Bucs and the Panthers?
The Panthers are 8-8 and the Bucs are 7-9. So the Bucs winning, in theory, would allow them to clinch a playoff berth because they would split, but they'd have that last game, whatever.
But the Panthers clinched the division with a win, though.
That's right. Panthers winning in. They would have a winning record, but they'd be in the playoffs.
Bucs win.
Chaos ensues, Tyler. It all comes down to Atlanta. If Atlanta beats New Orleans.
So if the Bucs win, then the Falcons have to lose to the Saints for the Bucs to win?
Yes. The way that Tampa Bay clinches a playoff spot is Tampa Bay wins and Falcons lose. That's it. It's crazy because the Falcons are eliminated, but it's because of the nature of their conference and division record. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win, Carolina and Tampa would be 3-3 in division. Okay, 500 in division. They would also both be 6-6 in conference.
And split head-to-head.
And split head-to-head. So they have to go down to, I think, either a third or a fourth tiebreaker, which is determined by the Atlanta Falcons. So
how do the Falcons come into play there?
I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure it's a common games tiebreaker. And the Panthers have beat them twice, and the Falcons split with the Panthers.
So that's why
the Panthers beat the Falcons twice, and the Buccaneers split with the Panthers.
So that's why
the common game tiebreaker goes to Carolina because they have a 2-0 record versus Atlanta, whereas Tampa Bay has a 1-1 record versus Atlanta. But how wild is that?
Oh wait, I'm still confused because the Falcons play the Saints.
That's right.
So if the Bucs win, then they still have the split. So it's got to be strength of schedule or strength of victory, then, right?
It's something like that because the Atlanta
It's got to be strength of victory or strength of schedule because I don't know what strength of victory means.
If the Falcons win, they would also have a 3-3 record in division. So these three teams would be tied at 3-3. And they would also have a 7-5 conference record. So it's something strength of schedule wise.
Yeah.
So they would have
because if the Falcons win, then that means they're a better team. So the Panthers beating them twice makes them better.
Yeah, it's something weird
that. Yeah, it's got to be strength of schedule / strength of victory. That's got to be the tiebreaker. That's nuts.
Yeah, it's one of the weirdest tiebreakers I have ever seen, and it's so convoluted and confusing that I can't quite process why it is the way it is, right?
Oh man, I love the NFL. That is nuts.
But I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that weird tiebreaker. I do want to see what exactly, instead of common games deciding things like it would in a straight up Carolina, Tampa Bay tie. So the common games is the tiebreaker, but it wouldn't. The deciding factor would be head-to-head record among the 3 tied teams. Carolina is 3-1 against the other 2 teams after sweeping Atlanta. Tampa Bay is only 2-2. So it's the combined round robin record. And Panthers have the best round robin record of 3-1. Glad we got that cleared up.
But only if the Falcons
lose.
Only if the Falcons win.
Only if the Falcons win would that come into play. If the Falcons lose, then it would just go back to a regular tiebreaker. And if Tampa Bay wins, they're in. Carolina wins, they're in.
So, and I assume those games are happening at the same time.
That's a good question. I actually know.
Here, let me pull it up too.
The schedule is your job.
Literally.
It's being played
Bucks
at 3:30.
3. Yeah, Bucks play at 3:30.
Oh my God, the Falcons play at 12. We'll know going in if it's win or go home.
So we want the Falcons to lose then. That way it becomes win or go home.
Probably. But how funny would it be if the Falcons winning and then the Panthers could post before kickoff NFC 1000 champions?
Imagine that though, because if you're a Bucks player, you're like, all right, like this could be it. We gotta have this happen, gotta have this happen. But like you can't focus on that game. You just have to focus on your game. And then you come out of the tunnel and be like, by the way, guys, we've won.
Right. In 2022, the same situation happened, not the exact same, but a similar situation happened where the Lions needed the Rams and Baker Mayfield to beat Seattle in order to get into the final wild card spot. And they were playing Green Bay in that final game. And the game went against the Lions. They were not able to get the help they needed. And then they still went out and kicked Green Bay's butt anyway and eliminated Green Bay from the playoffs, even though they had nothing to play for. So it was a really fun moment in the Dan Campbell era. But
this is the wild. I still think that this is the wildest situation of like Atlanta needs to win to get the Bucks in for the division. I think it's the wildest thing ever since the Broncos Raiders. Like if they tie, then Pittsburgh goes.
But
the one where it almost tied.
Well, no. It was Broncos Chargers, and if they tie, they both go. They both made the playoffs.
You're right.
It was Broncos Chargers.
The winner goes with Pittsburgh, but if they tie, then they both go.
They both go.
And Pittsburgh's out.
And Pittsburgh be eliminated. Right. And it was
almost
overtime. They were about to attempt a 57-yard field goal, but then they were just going to let the time run out. And then somebody, some idiot, some buffoon called a timeout.
No, so it was only like second down, but the time was running out. And then the Chargers called a timeout.
That's right.
And the announcer's like, why do you call a timeout? It looked like they were about to run it down. And then they got the first down because the clock stopped. They had to run another play. They get the first down and then kick a game-winning field goal.
Right. That's what it was. But theoretically, if the Chargers called that timeout, they would have just tied.
Been. And they both go.
Second craziest only to that one, because that one's nuts. But that's all we have for you guys in this episode. We appreciate your patience during the holiday season, but we are back. Let us know down in the comments how many points you got during the Pro Bowl or No Bowl segment, and we will see you guys next week.
Appreciate you guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.